Okay, it's been 3 months since I shipped the head out. I finally got it back. It took way long. New cylinders, all done up. Don't scratch some of the walls here. Wrap it. Let's see what we got. Even though they deburr these edges from the machine shops, you want to go over it anyway, just in case. Because if any of these edges, these ports are sharp, it'll catch on a piston ring and tear it up. So you can take, this is the only one I have on hand right now, but I'm going to go ahead and get a more flat one and just kind of cut that edge off of there. Let me show you what I found. Good thing I did this because right here, you see that right there? Hold on. See that right there, that mark? It's a piece of metal that's protruding. Protruding just a little bit, enough to jack up a piston ring. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that down as well. But I'm glad I caught that because that could have destroyed a piston. Nice and smooth. Get it taped off. Prime the block. And I'm about to paint it up with the metallic burnt copper. All right, so head and blocks all painted up, looking nice. Whenever you get something from the machine shop, which I did here, these I had them re-sleeved. They re-sleeved them and then they bore them out to standard size and they hold them for you. I'm gonna go ahead. I got some cheap calipers and cheap bore gauges off of eBay. I'm gonna go ahead and verify. Check the ring gap. According to this, 10 thousandths to 18 thousandths is the range you want to be in. So I have the pin. I have the these first rings in here, and what I did, I took off my gauge set here a 10 and 18 thousandths. So it shouldn't be any smaller than that. It shouldn't be any bigger than 18 thousandths. It's a little bit smaller than 18 thousandths. Yeah. So it's in between these two.
because it's definitely bigger than 10, smaller than 18. So I would say those the clearance is good. I'll check these rings as well. Bigger than 10. Smaller than 18. I just used an automotive ring tool. The concave faces up. The dark piston's on the bottom. The chrome piston's on the top. Both are concaved. Yeah. So don't bend it too much. Just enough to get over the piston. You can slide them on there too, but I think this is a better way. And of course you got the pins that you line them up with before you put the head on. Alright, I'm getting ready to assemble the cylinders and the head on top of the crank block there. I'm gonna have about a little bit less than a 99 thousandths of a squish, because I'm choosing, they say you want to get as close to 70 thousandths as possible, I believe. More is okay. And I think these WSM pistons, I have not measured them, but I think they are shorter, and I think they do that on purpose to give the engine longevity, because it's not as much compression and not as much power. So I'm trying to get the lowest squish I can with what I have. Can't get around the thickness of the head gasket, I guess, unless I split this and use just half of it, but I'm not going to do that. The base gasket's a 3-hole, and I measured it to about 11 thousandths of an inch. It's going to get a little bit smaller as it's torqued down. And I'm going to, the base gasket, I'm going to use copper Permatex on both sides. And the head gasket, I'm going to use Permatex spray on the top, because I did not have this machined. Although it's flat, I tested it with I checked it with a straight edge. And this has been machined flat, so I'm not going to put Permatex on the bottom there. But I have some 2-cycle oil to line the cylinders and the pistons. The Permatex 243 calls for 242, but 243 is like an upgraded version of the Loctite. So I'll Loctite everything. I had to order a dowel pin because I was missing one. They're very important. You have dowel pins here, and then 2 here, so that the pieces do not walk, because of course these are not a tight tolerance, because you want to be able to get the bolt in there. It tightens up here a little bit, but still you don't want to leave the dowel pins out. And of course I had to JB weld a stud in here. It's very strong, works very good, and it's all stainless steel, so it's not gonna rust. I have a nut here. I'll Loctite the hell out of that one, since it's a short nut as opposed to these long nuts with more thread. And don't forget these O-rings. Once you put the cylinders on, these O-rings go on the studs here, and they tuck down in here. I have Loctite and like a Permatex sealer in here, so I should get no leaks through those areas. The instructions called for particular ones to be sealed, but I sealed all of them. Yep, so let me go ahead and start to assemble. So yeah, when I did the solder test, the squish band, I got about 70 thousandths. Head gasket is about 18 thousandths. The base gasket is about 11 thousandths. I'll have about 99 thousandths of a squish. and it'll actually be a little bit less than that. But they say 70 on up is where you want to shoot for. Anything below 70 or 65, it gets to be dangerous, and you definitely want to use like high octane fuel. So I think I'll use high octane fuel anyway, just out of safety, to prevent any sort of pinging, any sort of detonation. It's also underneath the seats here of the bolts. I'll put some synthetic grease, so when it turns, it doesn't bind up on the surface and give me an inaccurate torque reading. I'll probably do it for these nuts, the top of these nuts too, just around that surface. Loctite goes on the threads, grease on the surface. All right, to make it easier to identify where the pins are, where the ring gaps line up, see the pin in there? I'm going to go ahead and mark the top of the piston, so it's easy to see when I'm messing around with this thing. The other one should be over here. Yeah, see, the other one's over here. The same on both pistons, of course. You see the pin right there? I'll mark it. That way, I don't have to go looking for it. I can feel it. The gasket's seated properly, which it is. I put some oil in here, kind of have it drop down where the rings are at, so when you move it, it's gonna lube. I think I didn't record the part where I brought it down. Sorry about that. That's a misrecording. So, okay. It's down. Let me spin it a little bit. Turn this thing. Yeah. Look at that. Okay. Just in case. Hit the gasket surface again. Make sure you have no oil on the gasket surface. Even coat. Oh. Whoo, I almost forgot. The O-rings. O-rings. Okay, so there's no oil on these mating surfaces, on the gasket surface. Everything's clean. The gasket's sprayed up. There's no oil here. This is flat as I could see, according to my straight edge, my machining straight edge. So now I just looks like I mount this way, right? Oh, dowel pins. Don't forget the dowel pins. Boom. Boom. Always make sure the cavities where these dowel pins fit, make sure it's clean, so the dowel pin isn't like protruding to where it can be interfered with, or clearance be taken away. See, I like crust and whatnot. Okay, so boom. Yes, buddy. Best to go down evenly. And still no sort of no pollution in the cylinder here. It's all oil. A little piece of rag. Looks good. I think this is just, it's all oil. Okay. I put the head on, but you see it's all oiled up in there. And you're gonna puffs of air gonna come out of here. That's the compression stroke. Exhaust strokes. Hear it? Okay. Now, okay. So now, if you wanted to add some extra oil, lubrication, you can do it here before you assemble this stuff. Just turn the engine on the side and pour some 2-cycle down there. That's probably what I'm gonna do here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour some more oil in there. Let me make sure it's well lubricated for braking. Just a little bit. And you could give it some RPMs here.